So this shows the transit in Neptune in Donald Trump's chart. It's a planet with a big, big orbit, 165 years. You can see it here at birth, and it's traveled that far over the course of his life. And it's interesting to see that as a single factor, it is nonetheless very, very powerful. There are other transits that have to be taken into account. Here I'm only talking about Neptune. Neptune, you can see, starting in early 2015, shown by these green lines, entered into the 7, 8, 9, 10 degree region of Pisces, which means it's trining 120 to his Mercury. Very significant transit. It's a Gemini. Mercury is very powerful. It would be powerful regardless, but it's especially important given that he's a Gemini. And Neptune, among other things, correlates with popularity, with celebrity, with the ability to act as a conduit for the for the visions and the dreams of the masses, so to speak. And so this is a great moment for Donald Trump. And in fact, that is when he ascended into a new level of let us call it fame and fortune. The pre-election period, the campaign, and ironically all the way through until pretty much inauguration, Neptune is perfectly aligned to correlate with this kind of energy. Very positive, very fortunate. Then we see here a period where I'm showing orange. This is a minor, difficult aspect, but there are much better explanations through other transits to explain what went on in 2017 and during this period here in 2018. But the main thing to note is that Neptune during that period is essentially more quiet, and then it resurfaces in full force in the spring of 19, when by which time it has moved up in degrees to 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, which is what this is showing. Forward movement from the spring of 19 to the end of 21, and then from 22 forward all the way to basically 24. This is the square to Uranus first, then to his sun and moon, which are opposed at birth. He's born on a full moon. This is very, very difficult, very, very difficult stuff. And it is almost certain to bring his popularity down or way, way down. That's what Neptune means, and that is almost certainly what it is going to do. Moreover, Neptune at birth is part of a difficult configuration. It's in the T-square formed by itself, Neptune, Mercury, and Eris. And this makes it a dynamic planet which can develop things, but it can also really hurt depending on the context. And my sense from tuning into the politics quite avidly over the last few years is that the context here is extremely threatening. And Neptune is associated by co-rulership to an area which connects to his finances, in particular to matters of debt, so that's one issue. But it could be even more dire because it also, this is the death section of the horoscope, so even the ultimate calamity could take place. We also see that Neptune in another area of rulership connects to deceptions and illusions. And so judging by the way Donald Trump behaves and his capacity for twisting the truth, lying and deceiving, it's very possible that this period would bring such things to the surface. And by this period I mean between the spring of 19 and early 24. That doesn't mean it won't happen before then either, because there's a momentum that is explained by other transits as well. But it's particularly striking to see the Neptune in this position because it forecasts that period that is coming up starting next year in the spring is going to be very, very difficult for him. Lastly, I will say that cycles often reveal themselves by way of what happened in previous cycles. And it's interesting to note that Neptune, years ago, in the mid-90s, when it was over here in Capricorn, and then in the late stages of Capricorn, opposing Saturn and Venus, correlated with some of the most difficult years in Trump's life. And that is something that is now returning in a different flavor as it moves into the square to the Uranus Sun up here and the square to the Moon. I would say this is worse because the Sun, Uranus, Moon section of his chart is basically his core axis. So my suspicion is that this is going to be the most difficult period of his life. And what this tells me too is that if you think he's in trouble during his presidency, which is slated to run until the end of 2020, well, based on this transit, it extends beyond that period because the Neptune energy continues beyond the presidency. So you make of that what you will. But my sense is that this is not going to end well.